when was the last time you filled out an application with a personal statement? If you're watching this, I'm gonna assume it's at least about 3 or 4 years ago when you first applied for college or university. I assume at this point you already know how to fill out an application. We don't need a tutorial for that. So what we're here for mainly is the tips and tricks on how we can form our strategy in improving our chances in getting into the JET program. How do we do that? It's by thinking about how we can best fill out our application that stacks the odds on our side so that hopefully we'll be able to be accepted into the JET program, which has a 25% acceptance rate. And I'd like to believe, based off my past track record, that I'm pretty good at strategizing how to position our applications and interview to give us the best chance possible. After all, I was able to enter UC Berkeley at a 15% acceptance rate in that year. I also got into the GPI US Japan program, which is similar to the JET program, but this is during for university students. And then I was able to get into a fellowship with a 3% acceptance program. And then I also did enter JET program. Now, this is not to brag, this is to show that perhaps I'd like to believe I know what I'm doing when it comes to applying for things and positioning ourselves in the best way possible. But without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to be walking you through not just my application, but my thought process behind it to help give you a framework of how you want to think about your own strategy. First off, I do have some screenshots of the old time when I filled out the JET program application from way back when. It's still roughly about the same as those previous years. I'm gonna have my laptop in front of me, so if you see me looking down or around, you know what I'm looking at. So we're gonna breeze through the first couple of these numbers and just go down them chronologically. Position, interview location, contact information, criminal record, education, all straightforward. Criminal record, you wanna say that you don't have any criminal record. If you do, then I recommend you get the FBI record form of your criminal record. I did fill that out. I just paid some money to then get the record to then show that I did not have a criminal record. Additionally, education, so you fill out what university you went to, what you studied. After that is work experience. Now, I know for many, a lot of people go into JET right after graduation. For myself, I did work after graduation, and then JET is kind of more like my second official job after graduation. But I did also insert any part-time jobs I had during the program, which I think it helped because, for example, I was a teacher's assistant for one of the university classes, and that is kind of proof that I did some kind of teaching work. In number 7, as you can see, they actually get down to the nitty-gritty of what they're looking for, which is teaching experience, and number 8 is also Japan-related studies. So if you don't have any now, I'm going to give you a couple of ideas of how you can implement this. Oh, which reminds me, whenever I start any application, I usually like to look on their website and see what type of person that they're looking for. They already give you clues. Sometimes they spell it out exactly to you what qualities the program is looking for, or the university is looking for. And in this case, on the JET website, you see that they say the JET program seeks participants who are adaptable, outgoing, and who have a deep interest in Japan. So these should be the 3 things you keep emphasizing throughout your application and your personal statement. Not only is it important to show why you are interested, but it's equally important to think on the other side of the table. What are they looking for? What kind of candidate are they looking for? Why do they even need you in the first place? Like, what is your purpose? What is your job? What is your role? And what a lot of people get mixed up is that they think that the JET program is mainly a program about teaching students, and that's not quite true, because you'll be an assistant language teacher and you'll be put in a lot of, without going into too much detail, a lot of interesting scenarios and situations. And at the end of the day, it's not really so much about teaching as it is about cultural exchange. So JET program is a grassroots cultural exchange program. Keyword: grassroots and cultural exchange. Grassroots being that they want candidates who interact with the local community, who get involved in the local community, who actively are outgoing, to talk to the students, who talk to your coworkers, and, you know, even just participate in a lot of community activities, being very active and not just like staying in your room all day. I mean, you can. I do know of a couple of introverts that got into the JET program and they do well in school, but of course they go home and have their home time. But at least during my time there, I also hung out in the community a lot, so a lot of the community members know me, and that was really nice, and that was the main goal, actually. So if you fulfill that, then the job is fulfilled, right? In section 7, they ask about teaching experience. Now, the interesting thing is I actually don't have any official teaching experience. I only did a lot of teacher's assistant work, so I left this part blank. Keynote later, though, is that after I turned in this application around, you know, by end of December, because I think the application opens between October to end of November, early December, is that from January, February, March of the following year, or January, February around there, I wanted to stack the odds in my favor and also make sure if this is the type of work that I'd be interested in or even good at. And so what I did is I searched around for Japanese Saturday schools in my nearby community. Now, not every place is going to have this, so this is just me strategizing. How can I stack things in my favor? What are some activities or volunteer things I can do to really, one, test if I can do this, but two, also show that I can do this. For those of you who don't know, a lot of cultural communities usually have Saturday school, like a language Saturday school. I used to go to Chinese Saturday school when I was younger. I hated it. But besides the point, so I looked up Japanese Saturday schools. I luckily found one, went on their website. They said that they were looking for volunteers, Japanese speaking volunteers. Now here's the interesting thing, actually, I don't speak Japanese, but that doesn't matter. Sometimes you got to make your own opportunities, or at least ask, because it never hurts to ask. So I shot them an email or a message saying, hey, I'm interested in volunteering. However, I don't speak Japanese. Would you guys still be open to having me? And they were like, yes, of course, we need all the help we can get. I'm like, perfect, because you know what? Volunteering is free labor, so win-win for everyone. And then I went there and I was able to help TA for the 3rd grade class, and it was lovely and I really enjoyed it. I realized that I personally love teaching children more than junior high and high school, and that's important for later because they do ask you in the interview if there is a grade level that you would prefer teaching and why. In addition, actually, I did say that I wanted to do elementary school, which to my surprise, a lot of people don't want to. And it's interesting because in Japan, during the time that I applied around 2019, I got in 2020, but I couldn't go until 2021 for obvious reasons. And what's interesting is around 2020 was when the Japanese Ministry of Education made English class a requirement for 5th and 6th graders. Beforehand, it used to just be an extracurricular in elementary school, and then it was more of an official subject to study once you enter middle school. So as a result, they came out with new textbooks. They started to need English teachers for elementary, and they also needed ALTs for elementary school English. And that's where I came in, and I seem to have really fit a need by saying in the interview that I really like working with kids best. They do take a lot more energy, but for me, they're like super adorable. So now, this is not me saying that you should just immediately go for being like, I want to teach elementary school in the interview. If you really dread teaching kids, please don't. I think compared to other age groups, little kids can usually sense a lot better whether you actually like the job or not, or if you like them or not. So just keep that in mind. Just be honest and go with the flow. Next up is number 8 is Japan related studies. Now I did major in Asian studies in university, so I filled out a lot of those courses in addition to language courses that I did. They also ask for your Japanese language proficiency. I put that I could not write, that my speaking is very beginner, that my listening is actually pretty good because I just spent so many years watching a bunch of Japanese stuff. I'm pretty good at picking up languages through listening. And then my reading is also introductory because I use a lot of my Mandarin learning, my Mandarin language skills to read the kanji in Japanese to get a rough sense of what things mean. Just don't ask me to read the Japanese kanji out loud. And then lastly, they also want to know in number 9 if you've had any intercultural experience. It could either be study abroad, it could be if you traveled around somewhere, if you did a program. So in my case, I did the GPI US Japan program. I was the group leader of an empowerment program where we went to different Japanese high schools every week teaching for 5 days, doing like a boot camp, an empowerment program boot camp, and speaking on English, having the children practice their English and encouraging them to speak more English. And then every week we would switch to a different high school in different parts of Japan. This is important for later when I describe to you how I think this helped me get the placement that I wanted in the Kansai region of Japan. Placement is pretty random, pretty much a gamble. I think unless you have a really good reason why you should be in that area, I think that might help a smidge, like 2%. I'm gonna take anything I can get. My second experience, I wrote that I studied abroad in Taiwan. Back when I was in university, I did a summer study abroad program. I know some people are like, oh my God, you have money to do all these things. Like, actually, this study abroad program, I got financial aid for, and I also got some scholarships for, and that's how I was able to study abroad in Taiwan, Taipei. And then the experience of GPI US Japan is actually a volunteer program. So they pay for your flight. Even the homestay family helps make use your lunch, so you save a lot. It's a volunteer experience, so you're putting in your own labor as payment essentially. So I didn't have to pay anything for that trip, that whole month trip to Japan. And then the last one is I did go to Thailand and Cambodia to trace back my roots and heritage and things like that. So that's what I did. That one was just a simple travel trip. Believe it or not, I mean, I think if you're someone who really enjoys travel or international experiences, there are a lot of ways to travel affordably or to find scholarships or programs to help you, assist you in the finances of travel if you're willing to look for it. Obviously, for example, even just this JET program is one of them. Like, I wanted to live and work abroad, and this was a great program to do that. You move over there and you're making money while you're working there. Isn't that great? And also, your contacting organization usually helps you find housing. There's a lot of guidance and a lot of programs and systems in place in the JET program to assist you and help you with your move that I feel like you wouldn't get if you applied to a private ALT company who will pay you bad with really low contract protections, among other things. This is very ideal because it's run by a collaborative effort between two countries through their government. You are essentially a government employee. Next up are achievements. Now, these are just achievements that I did in my university days, which I just wrote. I did get some awards. It's pretty straightforward. Extracurricular activities are also pretty straightforward. Just write down whatever you did. Now, on section 13, they ask for a placement request. What I did is I generally put number 1, Osaka, number 2, Kyoto, and number 3, Yamagata Prefecture. The first two are roughly where I wanted to be because I wanted to be in the Kansai region. And then there's a section where they ask you, why did you, request what you did? And I wrote down, I chose Osaka as my first choice because I had built lasting relationships with my host family and students there. From the GPI US Japan program. Living near familiar faces in Japan would assist me in assimilate into Japanese lifestyle while working as an ALT. I don't know why I also didn't mention I wanted to continue those relationships with them, but I think it's already implied. I had host family not only in Osaka actually, but also in Kyoto. I just had a tie to Kansai region in general, and I'm just so glad because in the end I got placed in Nara, which is a very close train ride away from Osaka. So I think they heard my little prayers. I put Yamagata Prefecture because I just chose something random, something that was inland, where I felt like would have less likely chance of any natural disasters getting to me. You know what I mean? Nara is actually a pretty good place against natural disaster. At least where I was at was like a flat land, away from the ocean, away from the big mountains. It's a really good place. That's all I'm gonna say. And Yamagata Prefecture, I literally chose it because I saw that abroad in Japan and went there, and I don't know any other like inaka place to go to, so I wanted to have some say. If they were going to throw me into any inaka, I was going to request one inaka or countryside place so I wouldn't be thrown completely off guard. And yeah, that's what I remember filling out from the application. I didn't screenshot everything at the time, but when it came to the reference letters, I have 2 reference letters. One of them was from my university Asian studies professor, and then the other one was from the VP or COO, one of the executives of the fellowship that I was under after graduation. And they're busy people actually, so what I did is I actually wrote out my reference letter for them, and I asked them first if they'd be willing to be my reference, and I said I would help write everything out so they can use less brain power, but I would give it to them for them to read over, if it's something that they would say, if they agree to it, and then from there they'll like approve it. They'll be like, okay, this is good, I'll slap my name and my signature on it. And I'm like, awesome, great, thanks. Because the goal is, if I'm gonna ask someone for a favor, I want to make it as easy for them as possible. Whether it's ethical or not that I'm writing it out for them is, I don't think it's that bad. It's like an assistant writing it out, and again, I'm not going to send in anything that they didn't approve and slap their name on, so I had them read it over and check if it's everything that they're okay with, and if they agree with the way that I finessed making myself sound great on the reference letter. And then lastly, for the personal statement essays, I always use the same structure. I think the personal essay has to be about, why Japan, what you're gonna do there, and maybe some sign of how you've adapted in the past. I opened up my old post personal application statement in front of me. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because I have lost faith in the internet and people tend to just not use their brains and copy and paste whatever they see, and I think it's really dumb. Use your brains. Just use ChatGPT nowadays. Don't use whatever I wrote before, but we can get a glimpse of the framework and structure that I used. So I started out by giving roughly a context. First paragraph, intro, is always context. Who are you? What is your tie to Asian culture or Japan? What is the connection? I tried to avoid using anime just because I felt like it was too common. Anyways, it was really easy for me to focus more on my Asian studies because I do care a lot about Asian cultures and language and things like that, so that's what I tied it to. And then in addition, in the body, it usually want to tell a story of some kind of problem, like a story arch of like, there was this challenge and this is what I learned from the challenge that then shaped me as a person. And then in your conclusion, you want to be like, from that experience, I want to do this. So it's like future. You want to talk about the future. How are you gonna, what kind of ALT do you aspire to be? How do you want to spend your time while you're in Japan? Like, do you want to get involved in the community? Are you going to commit to teaching those kids about your culture? Or, for example, I said that they want to know how you're going to use JET as like a stepping stone to your next thing as well, because JET doesn't really have a lot of obvious career ladder, but it always gives you a good jumping, like a starter point to then go on into other jobs. A lot of people go into diplomatic relations, international stuff, or they work in different companies in Tokyo after, yada yada yada. You learn Japanese and you go into, so JET is what you make of it, but they want to know if you have a plan and that you're not just like, you don't have a plan, right? So I said that I wanted to eventually strengthen US-Japan relations through business and commerce. You know, honestly, actually, I think I can share my application with you because it's just such specific experiences. I don't think anyone could replicate it that easily in their applications. I can read to you step by step how I structured this essay. So, having grown up Asian American in the neighborhood, the East was a foreign land that I had only gotten a glimpse of through the stories my parents passed down to me. Quickly, they have an idea of me, who am I, how am I tied to Asia in any way. The East felt so foreign to my American identity, yet so familiar to my Asian roots that I became captivated by anything related to Asia, whether it be pop culture or history or memorizing the full name of Bangkok and attempting to read The Tale of Genji as a 12-year-old. Spoiler, I didn't finish it. This interest led me to majoring in Asian studies, poring over source materials relating to history, politics, economics, and cultural discourse. Yet reading about countries like Japan and Thailand wasn't the same as being in the country and immersing myself in the local lifestyle. Thus, it became my dream to live long-term in multiple Asian countries and integrate into the local community. After having taught in Japan in the summer of 2017, I plan on returning as an ALT of the JET program to continue promoting cross-cultural exchange and further strengthening Eastern and Western collaboration. Anyway, the conclusion from me reflecting on what it was like working in the GPI US Japan program, volunteering, because I think this is the most closest one-to-one comparison to the JET program, was that I said, by becoming ALT, I hope to become better to understand the Japanese people, language, and culture, and continue facilitating cultural exchange within the community. Blah, blah, blah. 1, I said I wanted to learn Japanese when I'm there. 2, I wanted to immerse myself in the community and connect with the people there, so I have a proactive desire to get to know them and not just be in the country just to be in the country. And in addition, I wanted to, in the future, strengthen US and Japan relations through global business partnerships and community projects. Yeah, and that's the application overall. So again, keyword is personal statement. Really anything when you're communicating, you always have to think about who is on the other side of the table, the other side of the paper, who's reading it, who's your audience. And at the end of the day, they're people. People get bored reading boring things. My friend and I have read a couple of people's personal essays, personal statements. We see a pattern typically. If people tend to come from a STEM background, they write so dry, very research-like, which is great for your academic papers, but it does not translate well to personal statements, because personal statements, after all, are not research papers. They are personal. A statement about you personally that you want someone to know about. Who are you? Okay, so my advice is to really try to get your creative juices flowing in writing in a more creative way, but just still full of clarity and focusing on the main points, which is that intro, who are you? What's your tie to Japan? Body, tell a specific story. It's like you're telling a story to your friend. Hey, this thing happened to me the other day. This is how I felt about it. This is when I reflect about it. If you are a self-aware, reflecting person, this is what I learned. And then in third part, this is how I'm going to apply it to my position in the JET program as an ALT or CIR. And then just a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 sentences of what are you going to do beyond JET? Because again, JET is just a stepping stone. Everyone knows it's not forever. You're not going to stay in it forever. Some people like to, but it's a really great stepping stone for your career if you can tie it. Some people want to go again into diplomatic relations, international relations. Some people want to learn Japanese as their time as a JET and then apply to work in Japanese companies. Others want to work in international companies that connect. There's an infinite amount. Infinite. If you use your imagination, there's a lot of ways that JET can help you. There's even some people who go into the tech industry afterwards. Yeah, I think that's about it for the application and the personal essay. If you would like, you could have me take a look at your essay for some feedback, but you're gonna have to pay me 20 bucks because that's time out of my day. But if not, I highly recommend that you use a lot of the resources we have available nowadays, which is ChatGPT, and you can put in a prompt saying, hey, ChatGPT, I am applying for this XYZ program, for the JET program that is looking for XYZ type of people, adaptable, outgoing, and has an interest in Japan. This is what I wrote. Can you please correct my grammar or give me advice in how to make my essay more personable, or if my essay aligns with XYZ criteria that you listed? I think that's actually a lot better compared to you paying me 20 bucks. You can spend 20 bucks for a month of ChatGPT, but if you would really like my advice, the offer's always out there. And then next up, we're going over interviews. But first, I'm gonna take a break. See you guys in a minute. Okay, this video is getting a little too long, so I've decided to split the video into 2. This one's going to be the application one, and then the next video is going to be about the interview and how to prepare for the interview, so stay tuned for that. If you have any additional questions, please comment them down below. And in the meantime, if my interview video is not out yet, and you just want to know what my experience was like in Japan from start to finish and my personal reflections on the JET program, then feel free to click on the video somewhere over here. See you guys soon. Bye!